All right, let's try and do a quick sum up for the computer from a known condition after hours 141 and known condition after hours 142. Some of the parts that were not used, the graphics card would not boot reliably. It had 5 or 6 domed or popped capacitors with contents leaking. We replaced those and it still would not boot reliably, so there are other issues with it. The processor had a completely bent over pin touching another pin and one broken off, so that was replaced as well. This is an AMD Phenom triple core. We put in an AMD Phenom 2 quad core processor. Some of the SATA cables and the Molex to fan wires, the bottom hard drive cage was pulled out. In the system itself, with the stuff that we did end up using, like I said, the AMD quad core, we used the rest of the system basically. We added a graphics card that we had here, NVIDIA 8500 GT, I believe. Put in 3 slotted expansion port covers to let the air flow. We added a 120 millimeter fan up front to blow air over this passively cooled graphics card to help keep it cooler. We tidied up the wires quite a bit, as you can see. It's not the best for cable management. It wasn't a case built to be that way, but we did the cable management as best we could. We shifted down the cooler for the hard that one of the mechanical hard drives was in. It's no longer plugged in, running the fans, using up power to do little to nothing. And the wires are tucked in between the DVD ROM and that hard drive cooling unit. Both mechanical drives, one was floating freely around in the hard drive cooler. A screw was in by a thread or so that hard drive was flopping around pretty good. And then there was also one that was in this cage that was mounted in this location. We had taken, and there were no rails to mount it, nothing. It was just in there hanging by the wires, flopping around. Any bangs, dings, bouncing around for mechanical hard drives is awful. It doesn't do them any good. It ages them a lot quicker or kills them if it gets a hard enough hit. They could have been damaged slightly in transport of the computer. They both took forever to boot. They were set up with Windows 7 on the 320 gig drive and Windows 10 on 160 gig drive. Both accounts that were set up, neither of them were the user that was going to be using this computer. So we took and pulled the mechanical hard drives from both locations in favor of putting in an SSD there. And the hard drive slot, we had to use a 2.5-inch to 3.5-inch adapter. We changed out the standoffs that were 2 different sizes, and there was some standoffs missing. The screws were not the right screws to go into the standoff, so the motherboard was flexed down in some spots and not even tied down in other spots. We put in proper standoffs with screws that match. It's held in firmly. Connected the audio cable, it wasn't connected. All of these wires were just everywhere. Most were not connected to where they needed to be. It didn't boot when it came in, and it does now. So that's a good thing. That's basically a sum up of everything that we did. We got Windows 10 installed on it. It is Windows 10 version 2004. That would be the May 20th, 2020 update, if I'm not mistaken. And also, one last thing. This isn't a typical job that we would do. We work on what the people have, but if it's older hardware, we usually don't work on that. But being they wanted this worked on, they wanted to go with what they had. We set a rate for them, and we did what we could without replacing the entire computer. The graphics card was bad; it was never going to work. So I did throw just a spare laying around out of the pile graphics card in, and a 120 millimeter fan. You know, so the computer, I guess, is going to be used as a family computer / online schooling computer due to the recent life changes of COVID-19 in this grand year of 2020 we're living. So mom, dad, and daughter, anybody else that use it, enjoy it. I hope it worked for you guys. This wasn't a typical job, but this was the wrap up for the After Hours 141 and 142 live streams that I did. It's running good. It's running stable. It boots every time. It's had many reboots, software installed, so yeah. Anyhow, don't forget to give a thumbs up, a like, share, follow, subscribe, whatever it is, get it out there. And also, if you know how to do this stuff or know how to do something that somebody needs a hand doing, give a lending hand. Help them out. It can't hurt. We need a lot more of that in this world. I know people have been doing that a bunch recently with everything going on with COVID-19 or the coronavirus. Let's keep it up. We're people. The more we work together, the more we help people out, the better the world will be. So, once again, thanks for clicking that link, coming over, hanging out, and I will see you in the next video.